episode 64. Welcome to Be Who You Want to Be, Your Business, Your Life, the podcast for micropreneurs defining your business and your life on your own terms. I'm your host, Candice Rodardi, and today I'm joined by Wendy Tadiucci. Did I get it right?
You did. Perfect.
Awesome. Wendy is a caregiver coach. She teaches adult children how to care for their aging parents. That is something people my age need to know about, except my mom is gone. And so are my father, so are my husband's parents, but we can get into that later. We can talk about that process. That's actually a really interesting story. So we can talk about that process. I am not introducing you right now. Okay, let's go. Okay, so Wendy is a huge fan of the Gilmore Girls. I've never watched an episode, so we can't talk about that, but maybe you could tell me why you're a fan of the Gilmore Girls. I don't know. And she has been married for 27 years to her husband, Steve. They love to travel. So today we're going to talk about how Wendy shares her message with the world and her big, hairy goals for 2021 and anything else that comes to mind, because you guys know that I just ask questions. So here we go. Wendy, tell us your unique story.
Yeah. Oh, well, first of all, Candice, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate that. And so here's my unique story. So COVID, the quarantine, the lockdown, really gave me an opportunity to stop and look at the work that I was doing and kind of go, ooh, I can finally do what I have had in the back of my mind for almost 8 years now. And here's how this went down. So I've been coaching for several years now. And what I coached around, or who I coached, were women just stepping into the next part of their life. Like, what does that look like? How can you up level? Where are you going to, what are you going to do? Who are you going to be? And I still do that. But at the beginning of lockdown, my coaching business was not doing that great. And I said to my husband, I think I'm done with coaching. And it's interesting, we're talking about, I don't know if you said we're talking about marketing today, but it's interesting we're talking about marketing today because this kind of leads into it. And I said, I think I'm done with coaching. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I think I'm done. And he's so sweet. He's quiet for a little while. And he said, well, it's almost summer. Why don't you plant a garden this year? And I was like, thanks. I appreciate that, but no, I don't think I want to do that. And I said, I just kind of let it go. So for a couple of weeks, I just didn't do anything. It was COVID. It was quarantine time. It was pajama time all day. And so close to me being in quarantine and doing the pajama time, I came across an opportunity to sign up for a course that teaches people how to create online courses. And I thought, that sounds interesting. I got a ton of content. I got content from coaching. I got content before I was a coach. I was a professional organizer. I've got tons of content. I can build a course with what I have, no problem. Well, there comes the day then that you have to write down your course ideas. This is the assignment. And I'm writing them down. And then all of a sudden, somewhere in my consciousness comes, Wendy, you have been taking care and caregiving for your mom for almost 8 years. You learned a thing or two. You made mistakes, but you guys are in a really good place right now, even in the midst of this pandemic, this COVID, right? And so I wrote it on the list, but I was like, that's really confusing. People know me for this kind of coaching, right? For specifically coaching women into the next step. What are you going to be? This is really, I can't change. I don't even know what this is. Am I coaching like seniors, senior citizens, kids, or what am I going to call it? I don't know, right? And so finally, after going back and forth, I decided, 2020 is the perfect opportunity for me to shift out of the particular niche I was in into this new niche, because for heaven's sake, the world is upside down. Now is the time to do this. And so I followed the steps in the course and I created a pilot because that's what you're supposed to do to see if if it's viable, right? If people are interested in what I'm offering. And of course, they were, and it went well. And I was like, huh, okay, well, I'm totally, I think I'm going to switch my niche, which sounds kind of funny. And I did. And it's been a process. And where I'm at now is I'm fully able to offer focused one-on-one coaching to those adult children who are just beginning to step into caregiving for their aging parent, and also step into my second pilot, which is a membership program, which is different from my first pilot because of what I've learned, right? And I've iterated that process, and it's much bigger and it's much fuller and it's much more. You get more support and connection with this new pilot. So I forgot the question that you asked me because I was so excited.
I wanted you to share your story, which is exactly what you did.
Sweet.
So
Check
let's
that
talk.
off.
I want to talk about pivoting, and I want to talk about membership programs.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of courses because I think they're overdone. That's my thing. I love my membership program, and I think that you're going to love it too, because you get to interact with them,
Yes.
with with your members on a very close, personal way, and you're there for them, and they're there for each other on a way that you never imagined. Like when we're doing our live classes, sometimes I'll just say, okay, Hive Mind, answer Wendy's question, and I'll step away and I'll let them talk to each other. And the ideas that come out are phenomenal. You can't get that kind of interaction from a course. And I'm sure your course is fantastic. I'm just saying, for me personally, I've never finished a course, even the ones I've paid for. And that's just not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
The membership program, especially for your very specific niche, which is, I mean, as a marketer, I'm telling you that your niche, adult children of aging parents, is a fantastic niche. You can't, I mean, it's specific, it's narrow, it's what's needed right now. The world is changing. Hopefully we're coming out of COVID. I don't know. We're coming out of COVID, but those adult children are still going to have to care for their parents, because we don't know what the long-term ramifications of COVID are going to be on the elderly. And I can foresee that a lot of blended families are going to start having grandparents at home, and you're going to have 3 generations and more households. I mean, that's just going to happen. It's going to happen because more and more people are going to be working from home, because corporations are going to see the benefit of allowing their staff to work from home, because it costs less money.
Totally.
It costs less money for your employees to work at home because you don't have to rent this big old building, right? Okay.
Agreed.
I'm sorry. I call those Candace interruptuses because I went on a long tangent about something completely different. But
awesome.
Pivoting has been a huge theme for 2020. And as someone else quoted on earlier podcast, if you didn't pivot in 2020, you're dumb.
Okay, I'm not dumb.
I'm quoting somebody else there. But I mean, it's just, so I applaud you for making the pivot and following your prompting and following your heart and doing the work that you need to do. And I'm excited about your membership program, because that is going to bring so much value to the members, because I cannot even imagine. I was not the caregiver for my mother before she passed away. It was my father and my sister, right? I was in another state. I wasn't there for any of it, but I know that they could have used a little guidance and hand-holding, and and nobody wants to go to a counselor, but they do want to talk to their peers,
For sure.
That's a brilliant membership idea. Okay.
Thank you.
So I know that marketing isn't something that you want to talk about, but what has worked for you? What's worked for you in sharing your switched niche? I love that.
Switched niche. Marketing. I'm not, I'm not a board marketer. I'm not. It's just not my thing. And it's been quite a journey figuring that out, and I'm still figuring it out. what has worked for me with marketing is putting myself out there. And what I mean by that is saying what I do confidently, like, hey, this is what I do. If you, and not saying this, but just thinking, putting it out there with the intention that, if this is something that resonates with you, let's talk, right? Or even, yeah, maybe saying that. And just, whoever picks up on it, that's cool. You're my people. And who doesn't, that's fine too. It's not something you need right now. So, and when I say putting myself out there, I mean specifically in a group that I belong to. I don't know if I can say names or not, but it's a women's group.
Go ahead,
and
plug
it's
it.
not okay.
Plug it.
The Polka Dot Powerhouse. Polka Dot Powerhouse. It's
A
the
link to
funniest
Polka Dot
name.
Powerhouse will be in the show notes, episode 64, momgeek.com/64. So will links to all of Wendy's important links. So be sure to check the show notes.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So I found Polka Dot Powerhouse June of 2019. I showed up, and it's a connection group. It's not networking, not you connect, and business might come from that. It might not. But here's what I found within this group of women, the Dots, my Dot sisters. I share what I do, who I am, have crazy conversations. They're called Dot Connects. And through that, this is how I got to you. This is how I got to you through one of my Polka Dot sisters that said, hey, I need to connect you to Candace. She did, and here I am. So it's getting out there, it's saying what I do, and then, following up with a personal touch, an email that leads to a phone call, that leads to another connection. It's those one-on-one personal calls, to be honest, that has helped me market. It's not Facebook. It is not social media. I know that works for some people. It hasn't worked for me, and I'm going to say it doesn't work for me, but what works for me is just talking to others, sharing what I do, and having a personal connection.
You are spot on. Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Social media it doesn't work. Email marketing doesn't work. What works is personal connection. So I love the whole concept behind Dots. I am in a BNI, which is Business Network International.
Yep.
So I decided not to do Polka Dots because I didn't want to stretch myself too thin, but I just loved it when I visited a meeting, and and I'm a huge fan of our mutual friend, Michelle Travato.
Michelle
Slaney Travato.
Yes.
She is the director of the Canadian Polka Dot Powerhouse.
Yes.
Whatever. I don't know what they're called, but she's the, overall
She's the managing director
of Canada for Polka Dot Powerhouse. So if you're in Canada, you're a woman and you're looking for a networking organization that meets solely online, you're going to love Polka Dot Powerhouse. All right.
You are.
And I will hook you up with Michelle because she's like one of my favorite peoples of all time. Okay. So lucky you for knowing Michelle.
Right? I'm so lucky. She's she's amazing. She's got great energy. She's a warm, loving Dot sister.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's just a warm, loving person in general. Amazing. Yeah. Just adore her. And Michelle and I have been talking about doing a project together for a while. We're both busy doing other things, but eventually you may see Michelle's name and my name on something together.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So, okay. I'll have to interview her in a podcast soon. All right. So let's talk about this whole thing about social media not working. Are there any times where you are on social media can you use social media to make those connections?
Yeah. I mean, yes. And for me, it's been few and far between. Like I used to spend a ton of time in social media, and it was such a waste. It was such a waste, and I was hiding behind it, because I was so scared to talk about what I do and who I am, and right. And once I got over that, then yeah. But so yeah, it has been not successful, but I have had people sign up for, a webinar, a class. And actually, that's how I got. So I'm starting to enroll in my membership program, and I had one enrollment, actually a couple enrolled from my webinar that I just did last week. But again, it was that it was posted on the Polka Dot Powerhouse membership spotlight Facebook thing. Someone saw me, told their aunt and uncle, and then they showed up on the webinar, and that's how that happened. So there was a little bit of a personal connection. So I would say social media can work, but man, I just think the personal connection is better. Did I answer your question? I feel like I'm rambling.
You did. So here's my take on social media. I mean, I'm not on it very much at all anymore because I got so uncomfortable. It just got uncomfortable in the last 2 or 3 years. And I love everybody, and I try to have an open heart and try to let everybody have space in my life, even people whose ideas are far and vastly different than mine. But when your ideas are so out of alignment with mine that it offends my morality, then it's hard for me to love you. And people were allowing those dark parts of their psyche to present themselves. So that's why I don't like hang out on social media anymore. I do have a presence on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and all that stuff, but everything that's on there is auto posted. I don't like go on there, and every once in a while I'll put something cute on Instagram just to say, say something, and I'll go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is more where I make connections because that's where I think the people that would benefit most from what I do would be. But in terms of Facebook and hanging out on Instagram and all those other places, I see them as time sucks rather than genuine. However, I will amend that to say that there is great benefit in Facebook groups. If you pick a group that is in alignment with what you're trying to do, or the market that you're trying to connect with. So if you were to find a Facebook group for adult children caring for their parents, you could join that group and make great connections in it. But you can also do the same thing through Meetup or any of those other, any of those other places. Okay. So I want to talk about your relationship with your mom. So you've been caring for her for 7 years.
Almost 8. Yeah.
Talk about how that happened and where it started, the whole gamut, and then share why it's been rewarding, because we want to, and where you want to go, and what your big hairy goal is with your mom. I know there's a lot there to unpack. So have at it.
Okay, I'll just start unpacking. So how I came to caregive for my mom. So first of all, it was a pretty sudden thing, and there were signs ahead of time, right? Although the signs for me were not as clear cut as maybe other adult children, because my mother marches to the beat of her own drummer. She's very much her own woman. Like, she's always done her own things, and sometimes they were a bit crazy. Always. That's just my mom, right? And so when things started to be a little bit off, I was like, is this mom or is this aging? I don't know what's happening. And then she began falling. And that's really what led into my caregiving. And so she had 3 falls within a span of 6 months, and each one worse than the last. And the third fall, I was at her house, and she knew I was coming over. I have a key. She wasn't home. And I was so excited, as I always was when she wasn't home, because mom is a little bit of a pack rat. And so if I, was going over to her house to visit with her and she wasn't home, I would go through her newspapers that were like just weeks and months old and put them in the recycling. So I was just jamming out and getting all this stuff in the recycling, having a good old time. And my cell phone rings. And it's mom. Okay, maybe she's late, or maybe she wants to know if she should pick up something, whatever. And as soon as I picked up the phone, I could hear I could hear in her voice that something was wrong. And she said something to the effect of, "I fell. I'm at the library. The ambulance is on its way." I was like, oh, geez. And of course, my heart just fell into my shoes, and I was like, oh my God. And what hospital? And I didn't know how bad it was. So got to the hospital. I think I beat her there. I don't know how I did that. Beat her there, and then finally they called me back, and I walk in, and her head's bandaged. She has 2 black eyes, a split lip. It was bad. It was really, really bad. So a night in the hospital, and got her home the next day. And I said to her, I said, okay, mom, I said, what do you want to do? And that's all I said. And in my membership program, I talk about how to have those awkward, uncomfortable conversations with your parent, like before anything happens. So don't be like me and wait until something happens. And it wasn't even an uncomfortable conversation. It was me the next day, tired, anxious, stressed out, and just being fully honest and just saying, Mom, what do you want to do? And she knew that I meant, like, if you fall again, it's going to be really bad. And I'm afraid that something's going to happen. And so there was all that behind it, and she knew it. And she was quiet, and she said, I want to live at, and she named the facility, not facility, that's a horrible name. She named the retirement community. She's like, oh, I want to live here. And I was like, what? I said, I'm just kind of backing up, and I'm like, what do you mean you want to specifically? I'm like, what? And because I didn't know what she was going to say. And she says, yeah, I want to live here. And I said, can you tell me why? And talk about marketing. Here, tip my hat to the marketing director of this retirement community. She said, well, I want to go live there because they have lunch and learns every month. She had been going, I don't know for how long, to these lunch and learns every month. And she met people, she met residents, she made friends. She figured out how the place worked. She liked it. And that was, she's like, I want to live here. And I was like, huh, okay. I said, all right. And then started my research. Like, okay, how much money does she have? How is she going to pay for this? Can she pay for this? What's available to help? Can her long-term care insurance pay for this? Like, I don't know. So I had to gather up all her financial information, which was not easy because, again, mom is not the most organized person ever. So, I've got large stacks of paper, and I'm organizing it into, here's banking accounts, here's investments, here's, this, that, and the other, long-term care, right? And, okay, researching long-term care. Will it pay for this? No, it won't. Okay, does she have the finances? Yeah, she does for a while. Okay, so if that's what she wants, then that's what we're going to do. And so we took a look, we took a tour. Mom already knew the place like the back of her hand. So I was just coming into this new, and she's, hi Edna, hi. It's like she had friends already. And I'm like, okay, she seems pretty happy, and mom's a very social person. Okay, if this is what she wants, it works for me. And we moved her a month later, very quick. And she's happy. Like, it was hard in the beginning. I won't lie. It was very hard in the beginning. And that's why when it came time for me to, create my own course, I was thinking, okay, you remember you went through this, and I had no one to turn to. I wasn't even 40 years old. I was 37, 38. None of my friends were going through this, right? My mom is a lot older than most of my friends, mothers. So I had no one to turn to. I wasn't really sure what I was doing, right? I didn't know, to look for this or to ask these questions. Um, I didn't know what I didn't know, but I learned really quickly. Trial and error and mistakes, and boy, it was a smooth transition, but yet it was also like a bit chaotic too, all coming together. Mom got settled pretty quickly. Like, she already had friends there. And let's see, that was my beginning of my caregiving journey. And as the years and the months moved on, I want to say I got better at caregiving as you live and learn. And you just ask mom a lot of questions. Do you like this? Do you want this? What do you think about this? And so you have to, at least in my case, every case is different. I have to take into account what mom says and also take into account her safety, because what she might be saying might not be safe for her to do. And so sometimes I have to play the bad guy and say, Mom, this isn't a good idea, and this is why I think that, right? And most of the time she'll go, yeah, you're right. Sometimes she'll fight me on it, but you know what? That's her individual personality. She's a very strong woman, and I respect that. And I'm the same way because of her. So that was my journey into caregiving. So I think I unpacked one piece. What's the next piece to unpack?
Well, I need to just back it up and
Yeah,
let's dig deep into the marketing lessons from your story, because there are
right?
so many. All right. So number one is the power of the free lunch and learn, right?
Seriously.
If you are trying to launch a new business where you want to be a coach or a mentor or any of those things, a lunch and learn is a great place to start. It's only, you can do it in 45 minutes. You can teach a class on the web,
Yeah.
have a live audience, and they get to know you. So there is power behind a lunch and learn. The second thing, if you don't know something, you ask a lot of questions to get the answer.
Right.
The third thing is, the best way to learn how to do something is to teach others how to do it. So if you want to launch a coaching business in any field and you know how to do something, but you don't know how to do it well and you want to learn it better, teach somebody else, right? Just teach
Right.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Ask a lot of questions. Is that 4? Did I already say ask a lot of questions? I don't know.
I
There were
lost
4 there.
count, but this
There
is great.
there are 4 there, but so I don't remember what they were. Power the lunch and learn, ask a lot of questions, teach others. I can't remember what the 4th one was. But anyways, every story has a lesson in it. And we just got 4 lessons or 3 lessons that now that I can't remember which one it was. We just got 3 lessons out of this story
You
about
got 3 lessons.
how Wendy helped her mother transition from, independence to semi-independence, and
Yeah.
also that caregiving doesn't necessarily mean that your mom lives with you. Because for some
Right.
reason, I assumed your mom lived with you when you told me that you're caring for her, but that's not true.
Mhm.
And now that I think about it, my mother-in-law didn't live with us, but we cared for her,
Exactly.
So,
They're all different. They're all different flavors of caregiving.
yeah. Yeah. So, and the hardest part is going through their stuff. You want to talk about that for a minute? We need to wrap up, but in about 2 minutes,
Okay.
just give advice for going through their
Yeah.
stuff in 2 minutes or less, and
Sure.
then I'm gonna give you the floor for you to talk about anything you want.
Oh gosh, that's dangerous. Um, so going through their stuff. So I was fortunate because I didn't have to sell mom's house like right away. I had some time. And so I gave myself 2 years. I didn't say I'm going to give myself 2 years, but I just, I'm like, okay, when I'm ready, I will go through it, because mom's house was also my grandparents' house. So there was a lot of, yeah, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of stuff there. So I had mom's stuff, and I still had some of grandma and grandpa's stuff. Now, um, this is going to sound awful, but this is my experience. Mom, as I mentioned, was not the most organized person ever. And so I had a lot of stuff to go through. And I knew going into it that probably 90% of the stuff was just going to go. And so I ordered a rollaway container, a big one. And let me tell you, the day that thing arrived, I was more excited than a kid on Christmas. I was so excited because I was like, yes, I get to clear this out. And like, that just fulfilled so much in me. I just love getting rid of stuff. Mom, not so much. So anyway,
That's the personal organizer in you.
it totally is. It just made me so happy. Here's an interesting story, and I need to clean this, but here's the deal. So I said 90% of the stuff, it went, right? 10% of the stuff was so valuable and important, and not monetarily, but just give you an example. My dad passed away when I was 6 years old. Okay. And I knew mom had her wedding band and her engagement ring, but she had lost it like a couple of years after dad passed away. And so it was always this like, where is it? Can you find it? We were always kind of looking for this, right? So I was cleaning out, sorting through the stuff in the garage one day, and I come across this box, and it just looks like junk, and I'm taking stuff out and kind of thing. And I found this wedding ring set, mom's wedding ring set, wrapped in a paper towel. A paper towel. I could have thrown it away. And for some reason, I opened it. Here it was. And I showed it to her, and I said, looky what I found. And she was like, oh my gosh. And I said, and mom, I said, can I keep it? I said, because no offense, but you'll lose. She was like, yeah, I know. And so she let me keep it. But yeah, that's it. It took me a good year to go through all the paper first, and other little nicky-nacky things until I got to the point where it was time for the big stuff. That's where the rollaway container came in, and also donation to Goodwill, who came to pick up. And then what Goodwill would not take, I called a local charity, and they took it all, which left me with essentially an empty house. And then it was sold maybe the year after. And I will tell you this, here's a warning, just a heads up. If you're an adult child, you're cleaning out your parents' house, you will hear for years after, you threw out my fill in the blank. I don't have my fill in the blank, right? So just get used to it. Occasionally mom will say this to me now, even almost 8 years after the fact, but just know. And I told mom when I was clearing out her things, she's like, well, this is important, and this is important, and this is important. I was like, there's one thing that was important in this house, and that was you, and you are good. And that always kind of makes her go, oh, okay.
Your story is kind of sad because I love antique dishes and stuff like that, and I love the tradition of passing that stuff down in the family, but people don't do it. People don't do it anymore.
I didn't want any of it. I mean, I'm sorry, I just didn't.
Yeah,
no.
People don't do that anymore, and it's kind of sad. I would love to have my mother's dishes because they were kind of modern. They were like had this little 60s kind of thing. But my dad remarried and they need them, so I can't have them. But but I would love my mom's dishes. But I could see where I think most of those things are like, you and I are not the same. I would have had trouble doing. I would have had trouble. Okay, so in terms of your business, what is a huge, big, hairy goal that you have for the next 5 years in terms of your business? Mm-hmm. Where would you like to see your membership program go? And how, who would you love to help the most?
I'm going to answer the last one first. I would love to help those adult children that have just, like me, suddenly had to step into the caregiving role. Like this was not planned. This was like, oh my gosh. And they're overwhelmed and they feel alone and they feel isolated. I want to help those people. And I also want to help the adult children who know this is on the horizon, know that, yeah, I'm gonna need to take care of my mom, my dad, whatever, to help them prepare ahead of time. So they're not like me and didn't know and wasn't sure and didn't have, right? So they're prepared ahead of time so that when something does happen, they can be fully there for their parent, right? And not have to worry about the financials and this, that, and the other. It's all taken care of. You could just be fully with them in this process. My big, hairy goal for the next 5 years, this is so new, this membership program, but I want to grow it. I want to grow it so that, like I say, adult children that are going through this have community, have support, have others to talk to, because like you said, it's so valuable to talk to others that are in the same space and going through it and maybe a little ahead of you, maybe a little bit behind you, whatever. So I want to grow that. And, right now it looks like support. It looks like, my classes are on video and you can watch, little 15-minute quick snippets of that and get information, and there's resources. Also, I'm not sure what that's going to look like going down the road, only that I want to grow it even more. So it's even more supportive and you can get even more information. Like it's a one-stop shop. Like, okay, I got to take care of my mom. This is where I need to go because I need this information. I need this support. I need, to learn about this. What was the third question? I cannot remember threes today. I'm so sorry.
You did it. You answered it. Your big
Oh,
hairy
great.
goal, where you see yourself. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Well, is there anything else you want to add?
I'm trying to think of some words of wisdom, to tell people that are just stepping into this. Okay, well, I will say this, keep in mind when you are trying to decide something for your parent, right? If you know that they're probably not going to make the best decision and it might be a safety issue, right? To also remember who your parent is, what they like, what they don't like, and how they have lived their life up to this point, because you need to support them where they're at, right? And if they say, I want to live with you, I want to live in a retirement community, I want to live with my friend, right? Whatever. See if you can make that happen for them, right? See if you can follow their wishes.
That's good advice. You've been listening to Coach Wendy Tadeucci. This is episode 64, momgeek.com/64. Thanks for joining us this week on Be Who You Want to Be, Your Business, Your Life. Our theme song is by Rev Brock. Be sure to check the show notes, momgeek.com/64, for links to his SoundCloud. His music is amazing. And while you're there, look for the subscribe link to add us on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Hey, speaking of iTunes, if you found value in the show, we'd sure appreciate a 5-star rating. Or if you found value, simply tell people about us. That would be super groovy. Spread the word. And remember, I'm here to help you plan, prioritize, and execute your marketing plan. Book your discovery session today and find out the opportunities you may be missing out on to showcase your micro business. I've been your host, Candace Rodardi, and yes, you can be who you want to be.
That was a lot of fun.
Shoot, I hit mute instead of stop record.